The Thicket by Joe R. Lansdale was originally published in 2013, so it's a relatively recent book. If you had to put it into a genre, I would say that it is a Western. Now, a funny thing about that is I don't read too many Westerns. It's not a genre that I tend to gravitate toward. But I am very much interested in the film genre of Westerns. I watch quite a few of those. In fact, at one point, I was considering making a Western review show on my YouTube channel, and I went as far as making an opening title card. Here, have a look. Thanks, I've been looking for an excuse to show that. So I'm not sure why it is that I don't read more Westerns. I think it has to do with the fact that my reading time is limited, and usually when I sit down to read, I gravitate toward more of a sci-fi or a speculative or a horror type genre, mostly because that's just what I'm in the mood for when I'm reading. But after discovering The Thicket, I think I might be re-examining that and checking out some more Westerns because, oh boy, was this a good book. So it starts out through the point of view of the main character, and his name is Jack Parker, and he's 16 years old. And his parents have recently died of cholera, and so his grandpa is taking him and his younger sister Lulu to go live with their aunt in some other state like Kansas. They're in Texas, and he's taking them to Kansas to go live with their aunt. And on the way, they end up getting attacked by a group of ruffians led by this really nasty guy named Cutthroat Bill. And not spoiling anything, but because it's right at the beginning of the book, but the grandfather gets killed, and these guys kidnap Jack's sister Lulu and take her away. And so Jack is left alone to try to figure out what to do. So he's desperate, he's young, he's inexperienced, he doesn't know how to handle this group of ruffians. And so he ends up recruiting the help of a couple of bounty hunters, and they are going to go and track down this killer and his gang and try to get Jack's sister back. And that's the basic concept of the book. And honestly, reading the description of the book when I was perusing it, that was enough to catch my interest. I was like, okay, I'll give this a shot because that sounds interesting. And I'm glad I did, because not only is that plot a cool device to hook you into a story, the story itself flows amazingly well. And the characters are rich and well drawn out. And I think that's the big exciting thing about this book that got me into it. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So Jack, like I said, he was an inexperienced 16-year-old, didn't know what to do. So he ends up meeting a couple of ragtag people that are going to help him. And one of them is a man named Eustace. He's a big burly guy and has a lot of experience. He's done some bounty hunting and other things. And he's best friends with this guy named Shorty, and Shorty is a dwarf. And the cool thing about Shorty is he has an amazing backstory. And the book gets into the idea that Shorty, because he was born as a dwarf and he's in this world, he has to be extra tough and extra smart and extra savvy and extra learned in order to make his way. Because as you can imagine, this being in the past, people with his upbringing weren't treated very good. And I found Shorty's character extremely fascinating, simply because his backstory was just so cool. Now, the thicket of the title refers to this no man's land that these bad guys have disappeared into. And it's neat. It's scary. It's like if you are to go in there, there's a good chance you may never come out. It's full of ruffians and thieves and murderers, and like few dare to tread. And so this ragtag group of misfits, more or less, have to go into this area that's just deadly in order to confront these bad guys in his gang and try to save the sister. And I'm here to tell you, the pacing is amazing. Like I said, the characters are rich, and the language, the way Lansdale puts you into this world, he uses the characters' language, the way they talk sounds so authentic. I get the sense that he knows his stuff about that era. So if you're looking for a quick read and exciting, unique characters like Shorty, like Eustace, all through the point of view of a young character. It's not a YA book. I wouldn't call it that because there's definitely a lot of adult themes in there. It's intense. There's some graphic violence in it. It's not necessarily a YA book, even though it has a young adult character as the lead. It's definitely, I think, more of a book for grown-ups. I would recommend that. But yeah, I think The Thicket is well worth your time, and I highly recommend you check it out. Great read. So thanks again for taking the time to watch the video. I appreciate it. We're going to get some more books coming at you soon, and until the next time, have a good one.